Hi, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well today. And thank you, big thank you to so many of you for signing up to my Dr. Sam's Skincare Club Facebook page. Now, the reason for setting up a Facebook page, and it's a closed group, is to give people a little bit more comfort talking about matters that are, I would say, sometimes vulnerable making, and I don't know, that sense of community, knowing that it's a very like-minded group. It's been amazing to see how many people have been willing to share their personal experiences to help others in the group. So it's working really well. The other thing that's great about it is that it's been throwing up really interesting questions, and I thought that I would use this medium to answer some of those questions because I thought that it struck me as a good question. It might well strike you as a good question. So today's video is answering the question, what is the role for retinol in treating my rosacea? Now, this is an interesting topic. So rosacea, as you probably know from watching previous videos, is a very tricky condition which is characterized by redness, usually in the mid-face. Often a prolonged flush or blush is the first sign, and it's common in fair-skinned, light-eyed individuals. So it's very common in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly places like Sweden. So that's the first thing, and it's often associated with spots that are acne-like but don't occur with comedones. There's no clogged pores in rosacea, albeit that you can still have acne and rosacea at the same time, but the rosacea part is comedone free, but you still get the red bumps and you get the pustules, which are red bumps with white tops. So the other thing that is a key characteristic of rosacea is impaired barrier function. So rosacea skin is sensitive, so prone to dryness, prone to reacting to lots of the common ingredients that we might use in active skincare. So putting together a skincare regime on its own can be a total minefield. Treating it can be very tricky. And then trying to actually combat the signs of aging, really difficult indeed. So here's how I approach it in the clinic. Firstly, as I say, you might well be seeing someone who's got overlap. They've got a history of ordinary acne vulgaris. I think ordinary it's more typically something in the teens and 20s, whereas rosacea often will come on a bit later in life, typically in your 30s. So they come in, they've got active rosacea, and probably the commonest type to present to me is the sort of spotty variety. So in the first instance, what I like to do is to get someone on a treatment plan to settle that acute phase and to start to potentially stabilize their complexion so that they're less redness prone. Now, that might mean treating them with oral tetracycline antibiotics if things are very active. It might mean treating them with azelaic acid, which is a personal favorite. It might mean treating them with Sulantra, which is one of the new prescription agents. So we will use ingredients like that to get the papulopustular phase calm and to basically get control so that people aren't acquiring new spots every single day. So I will then see them again at 3 to 6 months, and touch wood, we'll have used the right things and they'll be quiet in terms of no longer breaking out as such. Now, the usual thing that girls do when they get to that point is they go, okay, now I want my skin to look nicer. So they solve a problem, then they're on to doing the next thing that bothers them. So then the next thing is, okay, I don't like the fact that I'm getting fine lines and wrinkles. So what to do? Can you use our gold standard of retinoids to treat aging concerns in rosacea-prone skin? Well, the answer is yes. But I'm not going to lie, this is a hard thing to do, and it may well be quite a challenging thing to do if you're doing this by yourself and you're trying to manage your rosacea and anti-aging with over-the-counter products, which are sometimes not the best suited because they have lots of other ingredients in there as well as the actives and things that frequently might irritate rosacea-prone skin, like fragrance. So I think it is important that if you're going to try to do this, you're doing this with what I call clean products. And I would stick to the French pharmacy or cosmeceutical space for that. So if I see someone, their rosacea's calm, what I will tend to do is litmus test them with retinoid that might well not be a great retinoid for anti-aging, such as differin or adapalene, but will give me a good sense of how well controlled their skin is and how sensitive their barrier is as to whether or not this is going to be something we can introduce. In the background, I'll have them on a good, clean, sensitive skin suitable regime, and they will most definitely be using sunscreen every day, and I'll probably have them on a predominantly physical sunscreen as they tend to be less irritating. And the other thing I might factor in is using some niacinamide, which is a good pore clearing agent, good for pigmentation, good for fine lines and suitable for use around the eyes, and it makes you more retinoid tolerant. So if you see my video on how to manage retinoids in winter, all these tips will sound familiar, because these are the tips and tricks to help trick your skin into liking a retinoid and getting you through that tricky 6-week period, which is the first skin cycle, what we call retinization. So with rosacea prone skin, I'll almost certainly start people off using it over the top of their moisturizer every third night, and I'll really encourage them to use their retinoid terribly carefully. So that means if we're starting them off in a pea-sized amount, which is pretty typical because that's enough just to give you a thin layer all over, I will encourage them to dot it evenly on the thicker parts of the face, 13 dots in total if you count them, and really rub it in well to those areas and avoid applying it anywhere where the cream might collect, so the skin folds. Certainly keeping it well outside that bony margin around the eyes. Do not let it collect in the sides of the nose, because you will end up dry and crispy with little cornflakes that your foundation won't love. And keep it well away from the corners of the mouth. Again, thin-skinned and prone to getting dry in winter. And that will give you a sense of how your skin's going to be. And you know, any transient dryness you can moisturize through, any redness or soreness, you're going to have to think very carefully about dropping the strength. If you were using a retinol over the counter, for instance, and you tried a 0.05, you might go 0.5, sorry, you might go down to 0.25. So being sensible, being cautious, viewing this as a project for 3 to 6 to 12 months to get your skin to accept this noble ingredient. But also, as I say, being cautious, because your skin may not get on with it, and it's possible. In practice, I have to say, I find that once they're calmer, and I often find that azelaic acid is the best ingredient for maintenance of rosacea, I do often find retinoids quite easy to introduce if we do it this way. Some patients I can even build up to using tretinoin or Retin-A. And they may well tolerate it far better than things like vitamin C or alpha hydroxy acids. So there you have it. Yes, there is a potential role. Yes, it might cause more side effects than in the average person. And you have to also be aware that it might make your tendency to redness more prominent. I think a 3-month tester will give you a good sense of whether or not the benefits are going to outweigh the downsides. But there is a place for it in your routine. I hope that was helpful. I look forward to hearing your comments. Bye for now.